Live from where we do podcasts, it's the best in remakes, reboots, and revivals. And now, your hosts, Nicole and Rolando.
Welcome, everyone, to our annual end of the year show where we recap the best in remakes, reboots, and revivals.
The best and worst.
The best and the worst. We like to highlight the best and throw shade at the worst. So that is what we are here for. We have a bunch of fun award categories that we're going to be giving off. Before we get into it, let us introduce ourselves. If you're new here, which would be a shocker. I'm Nicole.
I'm Rolando.
And I'm Eddie Z.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
Yes, this is... are we doing the intro?
Might as well.
Oh, okay. An original podcast
About unoriginality.
And amongst all the unoriginal properties we have covered this year, we're here to talk to you about the best, the worst, the ugliest, the gayest, the funnest, all sorts of things. So strap in while we give a bunch of fun awards to all the properties we've covered. Now, what have we covered? Well, we've covered a lot of movies and some TV shows. So we're going to break it down before we get into all of our little categories that we have, all the movies that we covered and all the TV shows. All right, so all of the movies that qualify for all of the categories that we covered this year are The Color Purple,
Mean Girl,
Society of the Snow,
Roadhouse,
Furiosa,
All of Us Strangers,
Inside Out 2,
Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F,
Twisters,
Deadpool versus Wolverine,
Alien, Romulus,
Beetlejuice,
Speak No Evil,
Joker, Folie à Deux,
Salem's Lot,
and Wicked Part 1. Awesome. And all of the television shows that are eligible in all of the categories that we covered this year are Percy Jackson and the Olympians,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Avatar, The Last Airbender,
X-Men 97,
Ripley,
Wizards Beyond Waverly Place.
Okay, so the way that this works is that we're going to go category by category, and each of us are going to pick one of the films / performances or moments that we think is the winner of said category. So we're going to start it off with Best Binge, which is going to be an interesting one because, as you heard, we did not cover a lot of TV shows this year. So out of the 6 television shows that we covered, Rolando, what wins for you in terms of Best Binge?
Okay, so for me, the best binge of 2024 is probably either Mr. and Mrs. Smith or X-Men 97. So X-Men 97 wasn't a binge. That was coming out week by week. Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a binge. I was able to just binge that all in one shot. So because of that technicality, I'm going to go with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That was easily one of my favorite shows of 2024.
All right. Eddie, what about you?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith was my favorite binge.
Yeah? Why?
Oh, it was just it was a property that they really expanded in the universe to it and gave it a depth and that I was not expecting at all. I was really expecting something very maybe lighthearted and corny, but the performances of the 2 main actors was just so incredible.
Yeah. And they got nominated recently for a bunch of Golden Globes. I don't know how they performed at the Emmys because I don't really follow the Emmys.
I don't think the Emmys have been announced yet for the most recent one.
I don't even know that. So there you go. Yeah, it was a surprise, that show. You know, that was one of the big surprises if we were to be giving away that award. I would say that one because I was not expecting much. So, but
wow, clean sweep.
No, it's not my pick.
Oh,
it's not my pick.
You teased.
I tease.
Tease us.
What's your pick?
I'm gonna be the one that goes for X-Men 97 because although when it came out, yes, it was week by week, but from now on and forever, as long as Disney Plus exists, we assume X-Men 97 will be available for binge. So I implore you, if you are a fan of superhero comics, if you're a fan of adaptations of comic books, if you're a fan of these old fashioned cartoons, you're gonna love this. And they're like 25 minutes each. They're in the style of the 90s cartoons. They're really entertaining. It was a good show. Another surprise. So I would say, guys, if you want a good binge show, go watch X-Men 97.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, next category.
Yeah. What is the next category?
The next one's now pivoting more towards movie. And it's called The Best Reason to Go to the Theaters Again. Because since the pandemic, a lot of people, the numbers are showing, are questioning whether or not they want to return to the theater. And with the amount of stuff on streaming, why should you go to the theater? Well, maybe this movie is the reason that you would want to go to the theater again.
Yes. You know me, if I could not go to the theaters, I would not, because I've had just one bad experience after another.
It's true.
Yeah, so anytime I could avoid it, I try to. So, Nicole, since you're the advocate for going to the movie theaters so much, what's your pick?
This is a hard one. And I have a top 3, but I'm not going to cop out like that.
3?
I'm not going to cop out like that. I'll pick one. And I'm going to pick the one that I feel like no one else is going to pick. And that's going to be Furiosa Mad Max Saga.
Really? Okay.
I was going to pick that one, Nicole.
Damn it. I had my other 2, and I'll tell you guys my honorable mentions, I suppose.
Why? Well, before you do, why Furiosa?
Why Furiosa in this category? Breathtaking cinematography. The sound is incredible, and it is action-packed. The way that they shot this movie will not, sure, if you have surround sound, sure, if you have 65, 75-inch television, yeah, sure, it might sound good. It still won't compare to how good it will look and how good it does sound in the theater. And this was a movie that performed very poorly at the American box office. It was actually one of the biggest flops of the year. And a lot of people missed out on it. And it sucks because the whole saga of Mad Max really is like one that, you got to see it big in order to really just get immersed in the madness of that world. And there was one sequence in particular with the 2 tanks and the people parachuting and stuff. I mean, that right there is the reason why we should be going to the theaters. You see that on a TV. Imagine how that looks on a screen. It was pretty fantastic. So that's my pick.
Okay. All right. That's all fair. Valid. Eddie, are you still sticking with Furiosa as your pick?
I am sticking with that because that is that's like that kind of movie is one of the reasons I go to the theater. I like the big action, surround sound, explosion. I eat that stuff up. That I love that movie more because of the way I saw it. The way I experienced it. Actually, the way I really felt that movie. Like there were certain moments where you just feel it in your chest. The rumbling of just those trucks would just be in your chest. And that whole I always comment about that parachute scene because I was like, these people are so creative, so inventive. It was just like that's a great use of a parachute. So I really enjoyed how big all that was. Even though the story itself wasn't so big, I enjoyed the experience being so big.
Okay. All right, that's fair. So interesting. I really thought one of you guys was going to go with Wicked Part 1 because that one just did feel like not only just a big tentpole film, but also just one that was worthy of seeing on the big screen, right? You have the big musical numbers, you have the gorgeous set design. So color me shocked. I was expecting at least one Wicked, but my pick for best reason to go to the theaters again was Twisters.
Yeah, and so you just named my 2 honorable mentions.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense. The top 3 right there. That is the
Twisters
top 3.
For sure is definitely worth watching in the theaters. It's just a fun movie. Very similar to just Mad Max, just like fun, action-packed. Didn't it wasn't highbrow, but it wasn't lowbrow either, right? And it just delivers on its promise of just absolute chaos and storm chasing. So because of its delivery on the promise, I like it. I'm actually surprised you guys picked Furiosa because, I mean, Furiosa was good, especially me and Eddie liked it because we had not seen Mad Max Fury Road, right? We saw them in reverse. So Furiosa was like our introduction to the Fury Road saga. And it was fine, but Fury Road was better. And I didn't even get to see that in theaters.
Yeah. And how much do you wish you did?
Yes, I do.
Definitely do. And I would go by what I guess the pick for me is Furiosa because I'm going by getting me back in the theater. Furiosa was one of those movies that got me back in the theaters. Wicked is a movie that made me want to say I'm in love with the theater.
Okay.
Distinctions for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I also would like watch Wicked on a broken television screen in an alleyway, I would watch that.
Yeah.
So whereas it's like Furiosa, just the movie theater. But
very well. Very well. Let's kick it off to our next category. Best Legacy Sequel. So a legacy sequel is any sequel that has, been developed usually a very significant amount of time after the release of the, prior films, right? So
yes,
we tend to, they fall for us under the revival category, but basically it's just like a sequel that is from an old school film, an older film, usually more than 10 years at least, but not exclusively.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes it could be television, but for the most part, it usually is movies.
Yes, it could be television shows as a legacy sequel and stuff. So, Eddie, what was your pick for best legacy sequel? There's not that many to choose from.
I know, from the movies, right?
It could be movies. There technically is a TV show that qualifies as a legacy sequel. That would be X-Men.
Yeah. All right, I would think X-Men 97.
X-Men 97. Yeah, I thought
you would go that route. Would go out of all of them. I was going to say Beetlejuice was like my second, but if compared to...
Sorry.
Compared
those were towards Beetlejuice. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
But no, X-Men 97, because it really elevated what was done previously. So the original source, it took the story and it elevated it. And it not only that, but it really gave us this intense saga of what these mutants were going through and all the crazy shit that happened. And, there were moments where you're either laughing at the stupid things that Morph is doing, or you're just in tears in just seeing the hatred that befalls on these characters. So X-Men 97.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that's a very solid choice. Nicole.
This is where I decided to not give Twisters to the best reason to go to the theater and give it to Legacy Sequel.
Okay.
Because I think that it's nice to see a Legacy sequel that doesn't necessarily rely on like the reunion of the cast or the gimmicks of the old one or like the whole prequelitis thing that I talked about in a previous episode where it's just like, let's just take, kind of like the basic maybe structure and also some familiarity of it and make a completely new story, right? So a whole set of new storm chasers. There's like this huge MacGuffin and which is kind of like they all really care about achieving this particular way of curing understanding storms, but we just want them to win and succeed and maybe even fall in love. And it isn't even about the love at the end of the day. It's actually like this fun science movie for people who know nothing about science and for people who only know about action.
And believe me, there's a lot of people out there that don't know science. So
science.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. It was big and it was like very old fashioned feeling. Like a good old fashioned time at the movies, not very ironic or self-aware or tongue-in-cheek. It was a little bit more like innocent and there was this naivete to it and it was fun. So, and it really kept that energy of the first film, alive, even though they totally missed out on including Helen Hunt, but whatever.
Yeah, so they definitely missed out on
Yeah.
bringing Helen Hunt for sure for it. So,
But I forgive them.
Yeah, so my pick for best legacy sequel is actually Alien Romulus, which is an interesting one because it's not just a sequel; it's also like a prequel. Also, it's like a midquel, right? But it is a sequel officially to Aliens. No, I'm sorry, Alien. The sequel
Alien
to the first.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
Alien.
That's true.
Yes. Chronologically, it is a sequel to Alien, and it's vaguely, it's like limitedly, it's like very little associated with the other ones, like the Prometheus saga. And for that, I think it qualifies as a legacy sequel because it does try to harken back to the original Alien franchise. And I actually, for all its flaws, I actually do like the risks that the film took, creating like a brand new creature design, which was prosthetics, mind you, right? Like that was a man in a costume, doing that kind of like weird, creepy alien at the end. And yeah, like I stand by this. I think the first act of this film is wonderful. Act 3 is also good. It's just Act 2 where the movie kind of flounders because it is trying to do, Nicole, what you complain about, right? Prequelitis, right? It's trying to connect it so much heavily to the rest of the film franchise that it does drag a little bit. But because it was able to get us out in Act 3 and like kind of give us something new that I wasn't expecting, I say respect. I think Alien Romulus for sure is a worthy legacy sequel. And not just that, I think it also excites fans for the potential for a new franchise, right? Like in terms of tonality, the Fede Ramirez, I think is his name? Fede Alvarez he just nailed it. I think he absolutely nailed the tone of the film. And yeah, I'm excited to see what else can come from the franchise. Very similar to, it brings me joy when like these monster movies like Alien and Predator get these like great legacy sequels that are just like, again, just solid.
Yeah, I wish I felt the same way about it. The film did kind of lose me at some point, but overall, I do agree with you that like this director, it was in good hands with him, even though it did suffer from some poor choices, but it was actually a good time at the movies too. So that was a good pick. Some things were unnecessary, which segues us into the next award because there was a whole lot of unnecessary going on this year, as there is every year. And we have to pick our tops for most unnecessary remake, reboot, or revival. And Eddie, he's shaking his head over here, which means that he's got one. I know he's got one. He's ready to go.
Lock and loaded.
Oh, I'm so curious. All right. Go ahead, Eddie. Kick it off.
The most unnecessary remake was Salem's Lot.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I love Stephen King. And I love all things Stephen King. I thought that this was a waste of a opportunity here. I listened to our episode, but I just felt like, there was moments where just like, it's just stupid.
Yeah. Salem's Lot just made no sense. It was just like, it was silly. And it also suffered from an inconsistent tone.
Yes. It was so weird.
Like they were trying to be Stranger Things at one time.
At
one point.
And the only solid thing was, I forget the name of the kid that played it. But the only solid thing, because he was like he seemed like a character from Stranger Things, where it has like this, like he had this like fearlessness when he came and all super knowledge of vampires and did what the adults couldn't do. So that was the only thing I did enjoy about Salem's Lot was that particular character. But that character was so mismatched with everybody else. And the whole story that was going on. And so Salem's Lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
That's a good one. What about you, Rolando?
Outside of Salem's Lot, I do agree with Salem's Lot. But I think the one that's probably the most unnecessary this year, this is going to shock you guys, was Inside Out 2.
Oh, shocker. Explain.
I did not, like, the movie's fine. But it was just a movie that I did not ask for, did not need, did not want. And I think they kind of dropped the ball on it. It's kind of like this complaint about like Disney just not being able to create original stories is ringing so true. And like you just see it in full display here in Inside Out 2 because it's just it's just rehashing the original one, bringing us these characters back, and like even the most interesting part, which was what was it, anxiety? You gave anxiety so many other side characters that weren't needed and necessary that it just kind of dragged. It was just uneven. The movie was a miss for me. I think it had the potential to be better, but they squandered it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, damn. I mean, I liked Inside Out too because it reminded me a lot of the first one, but that's what, yeah. And there are a lot of things I did like about it. And, the anxiety thing is just so relatable. So I can see why you could pick that, but I feel like there are way more unnecessary ones. I don't even know if that would be in like my honorable mentions for unnecessary ones, because I got a couple. Because there were, overall, it wasn't like a terrible year.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, there's a clear winner in my heart for most unnecessary, and that's Beetlejuice.
Okay, I kind of
purely for the money. Yeah, it was. I was considering Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, but I love Eddie too much to do that to him.
I do love that.
And I think the only thing that people walked away from Beetlejuice saying was like, that was fine. Right? Like nobody loved it and nobody was like, wow, I can't believe I've waited, 30 years for this? It's about the same age as me, so 35 years is for this? Nobody, and if this is what you were waiting for, I'm so sorry, because they really dropped the ball. It was overcomplicated. There were so many stupid, unnecessary storylines that, Tim Burton just wanted to give his hot-ass girlfriend. And most of it was just eye roll, and it was nothing. It just added nothing to the legacy of Beetlejuice. Arguably, maybe it even took away from the legacy of Beetlejuice, and also to the legacy of Tim Burton. And it was a completely unnecessary film.
The movie is one of those things for sure where as me, Eddie, and our friend were leaving the movie theater to discuss it, I was, there were some very simple fixes to the script that would have made this just a better film, right?
Yeah.
Number one, the first and foremost being is just like the big action. It shouldn't be that Beetlejuice is trying to avoid his ex-wife, right? The big cause of action should be, in fact, what's it called? Our young protagonist played by the Wednesday Addams girl, Jenna
Ortega.
I know. It's
Jesus. It's so good.
Jenna Ortega the main fix would have been like having her just get into this mess and then having Winona Ryder's character have to call for help from Beetlejuice instead of kind of everything happening almost like happenstance.
Absolutely.
And this is not like, these were not major fixes that would have like made this a stronger film. So it really was, he wanted to give his hot girlfriend a role. Was he trying to rub it in the face of Helena Bonham Carter?
I don't know. He's always done that though. Whoever he's banging at the time, he puts in his movies.
Okay.
He's literally that like cliche character who's like, I'll put you in my movies, baby.
I love it. I'm going to be in that one day. Eddie, you're going to be in all my movies.
Well, I was going to pick something else for this next category. I was going to pick something for that category, but I think it actually qualifies for the next category because I did go into it being like, what an unnecessary remake. And then I saw the film and I was like, you know what? You win the Redemption Award because you did something different. And I walked away being like, that was kind of unique.
I'm so curious. What is this
award? It ended up being one of my favorite episodes we did this year. So the award is for the Redemption Award.
Okay.
Some sort of redemption that this person or filmmaker or story or whatever wins, right? And for me, this film overall, just the fact that it exists, wins the Redemption Award because it shouldn't exist, but it ended up being good and it redeems itself because of it. And that's Speak No Evil.
Okay.
Oh,
interesting choice.
Interesting.
That is an interesting choice because, yes, I can see why you would think it doesn't need to exist.
Yeah. I think it definitely wins the award for the most annoying trailer of the year because, oh my God, the amount of times I saw that. And it really impacted whether or not I wanted to see the film. I didn't want to because I felt like I saw it, and I think I saw it like 12 times because of the trailer. And also, Speak No Evil came out 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Do we really need to make an American remake of a film that's new?
Mm-hmm.
But they did something different with it. We won't give away too much, but they also ended up providing us, like, well, geez, what do we want from horror movies? What is more realistic? Do we even want realism? Like, it just provided this whole really great discourse between us. And for that, it wins the Redemption Award for me.
Okay. I like that. So my pick for the Redemption Award actually goes to Avatar: The Last Airbender, because this is our second live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a very beloved kids show from Nickelodeon. And
Kids show.
it is a kids show. Kara is the one I'll argue maybe a little bit more young adult skewing, but the Avatar: The Last Airbender for sure is a kids show. And there's nothing wrong with being a kids show, right? Like, that's not a pejorative term. But I do think that Avatar: The Last Airbender for season 1 gave us a decent show, but it was a huge recovery from the live action we had gotten before, which was by M. Night Shyamalan. And I think because of that, it definitely deserves the Redemption Award, right? Like, it made me excited going into season 2, and I'm looking forward to seeing season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is it perfect? No. Could it be better? Of course. But I think where it can improve upon is giving some of these kid actors a little bit of acting lessons and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we could, like, have a good show on our hand.
And it might lose this award by the time the live action film series comes out in 2026. So,
I'm sorry, what?
yeah, so there's the live action Netflix television series, but they're making a film series that's coming out in 2026.
Are they really?
They're
Yes.
they're gonna just saturate this.
Why are they doing
Yeah,
It's like Star Wars. You get when you get just too much of it, you're like,
Are you sure it's a
Yeah.
live action? Isn't that? I know there's an animated movie.
Is that
coming out.
animated
That's about
of
in
them
2026. It's
about being
about Aang,
adults.
but it's not live action. It's animated.
I'm pretty sure that they're doing a live action.
I also heard this too as one of the projects they were pitching, but I didn't pay too much attention to this.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, we shall see. We shall
we'll
see what
see-
it
we'll
ends
see what
up being.
happens. I'm looking. Like, there is a potential. There is the rumors of a legacy sequel series coming up, which follows Aang's like adult years, which I would look forward to. I don't
Ooh.
care for live action. But to be kind of honest, what I want is give me a Kyoshi show. I want it to be bloody. I want it to be violent. Yeah, that's what I want.
Got a little bit of queer.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a big old lesbian.
Oh my god.
In which we love those. All right, Eddie, what about you? Redemption Award.
Redemption Award goes to
Drumroll, please.
Mean Girls.
Oh, that's a bold choice. Why does it redeem itself?
Why does it redeem itself? Because the moment this came out and the moment I saw the first poster, I was like, this is going to be garbage.
Oh,
I really came in. I'm like, I'm only watching this for the podcast. I love the original with Lindsay Lohan. So when I was walking, I was not prepared to be as impressed.
Okay.
By the acting, by the fact I wasn't crazy that it was going to be a musical. Like, I didn't like the idea that it was going to be a musical, and it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
Interesting. So you just hate it. So Mean Girls redeemed itself because it was a bad trailer. The trailer did not make it look good. It really looked very Shein. It looked very like Shein, Shein clothing company, right? Like it looked really cheap.
Yeah, it was a big surprise actually, and I think if you haven't seen Mean Girls, because a lot of people are just like against the concept of it and the fact that it exists, give it a shot, guys. It's actually, we laughed out loud a bunch, right?
I did.
I mean,
It was good.
Who knows? Mean Girls might be my answer for the next category.
Interesting. Yeah, no, Mean Girls for sure is definitely going to pick up a category. It's coming up in another category for me. But yeah, Mean Girls was lovely. It did make me laugh out loud, and I think some of the musical numbers were kind of really exhilarating to watch. Like, specifically, I think my favorite musical number is still to this day when Regina is singing about when at the Halloween party trying to steal Aaron back. That was just such a beautifully orchestrated musical number and stuff, and it just caught me off guard. Not what I was expecting for.
That was a good
like,
one. Apex
a teen
Predator.
musical. No, Apex Predator is another good one, but no, it's the one where
one of my favorites.
That was a good one, yeah. It had like a lot of good musical numbers, right? And that's what I do enjoy about it. It's like very memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah. So with that said, we're gonna kick things off to some more very specific categories now. We got the Yas Queen, our favorite queer moments in a remake, reboot, or revival. Looking at this list, not that many queer moments, to be quite honest. So
Not that many.
But what are we? Okay, queer moments. I would say moments that resonate
Okay.
to our queerness.
So you might be going with a route that I ended up going with for sure. So obviously the main choice that I was going to pick would have been, what is it? I was going to pick obviously All of Us Strangers because that's such a wonderful film and such a beautiful gay story. But to be quite honest, I think for me, the true queer moment of the show was just X-Men 97, which was just queer all over the place. It was...
All right, but do you have a moment?
If I had to pick a moment, and this is in retrospect, it is the moment when Magneto is giving his speech about how the X-Men have done all this work for society and humans just turned their back on them, and he just says no more. Guess when I felt that moment of no more post election, and I was just like, fuck this fucking country, no more. You get nothing out of me anymore.
I don't think we can go for like an episode without Rolando bringing you the post election. I love.
Yeah, so very, very much. No, it did feel like a queer, like ringing a bell kind of moment and stuff. Magneto's speech, or just like, I think the ending when like, I think one of the lines that like one of the senators realized like, oh, Magneto was right. Again, it just feels like everything we've been saying has been true. So I might go with that as my favorite queer moment specifically.
So I'm going to piggyback off of that.
Okay.
Because I also chose X-Men 97 as the moment. And It is, spoiler, but it is when Storm gets back her powers.
Mm-hmm.
Where she has to go through whatever she has to go through, be like even her moment, like experiencing severe claustrophobia, you know. And so I see it for me was like that moment when you are out of the closet, when it's like you step out and you become your true self, and you just feel so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she became a queen. She's just strutting her stuff,
and
like,
she was that, and too. So that moment of her realizing being unlimited, you know, just to use a Wicked reference, but her unlimited moment was, you know, that moment, and it felt so powerful, so real, and it resonated with just the moment where you really appreciate the trueness of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Nicole, what's your moment?
I have a few moments that I gotta shout out before. I don't even know which one's my favorite, but it's not X-Men 97. It would be funny if we all chose it because there are other queer moments. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about when Taraji P. Henson tells Fantasia she's beautiful for the first fucking time in The Color Purple. You know, and how emotional that is to not only recognize your own queerness, but to be seen and appreciated by another human being, which that character hadn't. Heartbreaking but important and beautiful. Let's talk about Inside Out 2 and the fact that Riley, we're hoping, has some sort of queerness, and her seeing that girl with the red streaks in her hair for the first time when she shows up at hockey camp, and you know she falls on the ground, she picks her up, and like kind of, you know, her brain starts going a little bit crazy and anxiety.
Sweetie,
let's talk about how
that
me and my girlfriend turned to each other. Hey, maybe for you, but it didn't for me. We literally like elbowed each other and we were like, oh my God, Riley might be bi, maybe. Who knows, you know? Because you know at that age, okay, people, don't tell me you don't fucking know at that age. You do. And let's also talk about the fact that Damien performed the iCarly theme song in French at the talent show in Mean Girls. That might be one of my favorite queer moments.
That was one of the big laugh out loud moments.
That was one of the big laugh out loud moments. It was
such a deadpan delivery from Tim Meadows. Like, that was Damien doing a French rendition of
The iCarly
iCarly
theme song. And when you process, that's what he was singing. Oh my God. And one of the gayest things I've seen all year, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So what's your moment? Is it that?
It's Andrew Scott coming out to his mom and All of Us Strangers.
That was okay. All right. That's a good one. Like All of Us Strangers for sure should win it, but it's such a good movie. I don't know if I could just pick one moment.
I know, seriously. The whole movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the whole movie for sure.
Yeah. I mean, well, if we thought there was a drought for the last category, wait till you hear the next category, okay?
Let's go. Eddie, why don't you read us the next category?
Next category is Mi Gente. Favorite Latinx moment.
Yes.
What?
So hard.
I am looking.
Right? And we're going to keep looking.
Oh, there's literally only one instance, I think, of like where we have.
I have one instance in my head.
Well,
wait.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. I'm looking through.
There's two instances I'm looking on our list
because I see like when a Latin character, when we have a Latino or Latina actor in a movie.
It could be that. It could be like a Latina actress in like a starring role. It could, and they just like wowed you. I think that's how Jenna Ortega won one from us for Wednesday for that reason.
I see.
It could. It doesn't have to be a Latino centric character. It could be just a Latina in the role, or it could be just a Latino character and stuff that just like stood out. In this instance, well, one of the few choices I have to choose from, unfortunately, comes from the Society of the Snow. And
the Spanish language.
Not just the Spanish language, but we also had some actual South American actors who were in the film, right? And they were not necessarily professionally trained actors, right? They were people who auditioned for the role and they just got it because of their acting abilities and stuff. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to go with that one because J.A. Bayona, I don't even think he qualifies as Latinx. He is, I'm pretty sure, Spanish.
Well, there you go.
As a director and stuff. So that's, I guess, my pick. Behante not getting much representation.
No, not at all.
Do you have something or no?
Wait, go on, Nicole.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Gosh, when I was reviewing these categories and I looked down that list, I mean, the only one that I could think of was Gretchen in Mean Girls.
It's true.
That one line.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly. I couldn't think of anything else. To me, I thought Society of the Snow didn't really count. And Jenna Ortega and her father in Beetlejuice also, it just didn't feel present. Like it didn't feel very embracive of that. It just was there, which is fine. You know, it's fine. So I guess I'm just going to have to give it to perhaps Mean Girls. I mean, is Katie O'Brien in Twisters qualify? I mean, none of the supporting characters in Twisters other than Anthony Ramos. Does that count?
Yes.
And Brandon, I think Brandon Perea is also Hispanic.
Yes, he's also Hispanic.
There you go.
He's half Hispanic, half Filipino.
I think that looking at this list, Hollywood, you need to do fucking better, man. The fact that there is a complete lack of Latinx representation is upsetting.
Yeah. I already forgot what I picked. Oh, I picked Society
of the Snow. Yeah.
just because they speak Spanish and it was taking place in South America. Nicole, you have picked.
Let's just say I picked Twisters.
Oh, Twisters. Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah, Twisters had some Latino representation. Yeah, Anthony Ramos is a big character in that one. Eddie, what do you ultimately pick?
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say Wizards Beyond Waverly Place.
Is it
to get back Selena Gomez to get her presence, and I'm really excited. I was excited about just her backing up this project and being part of it. But it was as a character itself, and as an actor playing a character that was actually Latino too. Yeah, I would go with Twister and Anthony Ramos.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because it's literally you could see the hustle You can see the hustle.
Yes, and then for that character, you truly can. Interestingly enough, in Wizards of Waverly Place, even though Selena Gomez is half Mexican, David Henry, he himself is not a Latino. He is white. He is a white guy. Her brother.
Fun facts. Cool.
That is a fun fact. Yes.
I'm moving swiftly on. So now we're going to get into performances. We're going to talk about our favorite male performance in a remake, reboot, or revival, or just the best actor, right? So it doesn't have to be one performance. If you want to give it to, an actor who was in multiple properties, you can. We're going to do that for an actress. And then we're going to say what we consider to be the worst, because there were some bad ones, let's be honest. So we'll start it off with best actor in a remake, reboot, or revival. And for me, the winner is Andrew Scott.
Oh, yes.
For starring in both All of Us Strangers, which is a remake, guys. We didn't mention that when we said it before. It is a remake. It's a second adaptation of a book. And in Ripley. Two completely different characters and two completely fully realized ones. And he is one of our best working actors. I would love to see him on the stage. I look forward to anytime I see him in the credits of a film. I think he's a great actor. And so for me, it's just the best actor right now in terms of, what we've seen, and one of the best working actors, Andrew Scott. So that's my pick. What about you, Eddie?
Okay.
So I was also going to say Andrew Scott. That's the first person that came to my head. Loved his performance in both Ripley and All of Us Strangers, but his performance in All of Us Strangers, though, just really shook me to the core. He made me cry like a little baby, and I totally saw myself in that character. So, yeah, Andrew Scott really.
Okay,
I would give that to him.
No, I think those are two very, very valid choices. Andrew Scott was not who I was going to pick at any point. It was actually going to be surprising. Do you guys have any idea who I might pick if I had to pick for best actor?
Jonathan Bailey.
No. What was he in?
He was in Wicked. Ryan Reynolds. No, sorry. Jake Gyllenhaal. Roadhouse.
It is. Jake Gyllenhaal in Roadhouse is my pick for best actor in a remake, reboot. That is a movie that is sadly so mediocre that is truly carried by a stellar performance from Jake Gyllenhaal, where you see his true charisma just shine.
Okay, stellar is very generous word.
No, it was. It was such a good performance.
He could play the same character, had the same lines, and the background would be Alaska. Like a small bar in Alaska, and it'll work.
Yeah, he did. Like he pulled a lot of weight in that movie, and you just show it's just like, wow, I would argue that's true star power, like to make just even the most mediocre film like kind of feel so much better than it is. And my runner up was going to be Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa, who I think was way more of a standout than, unfortunately, Anya Taylor, who I think also qualifies as Latinx. You guys forgot.
No, I didn't forget.
Does she?
Oh, yeah, she's Argentinian.
She's part Argentinian.
Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad somebody picked Roadhouse for something.
Roadhouse deserves it for best performance in an actor. He was so good, and he was truly like, if I had to pick like Andrew Scott was great, but that movie was just also good. Like he had like a good supporting actor and stuff, and just a very, very well balanced like just story in general. His work, yes, portrayed those emotions. Like sure, that's a lot of work there, but like he also had a good script to work off of. Roadhouse did not have that. Like this was truly Jake Gyllenhaal just pulling magic out of his ass. Like it was something.
Yeah.
Can I do an honorary mention?
Yeah, who's your honorary mention?
James McAvoy in Speak No Evil.
Yes, I agree. Okay. He was so good in that role.
Because he literally, it was super terrifying at those moments and so conflicting, super sexy.
Oh, 1,000,000%. He was
so I was just like, oh my God, please kill me so
So slowly.
So slowly. So slowly.
All right, we're off to an interesting category. I feel like because this one, I'm curious to see how you guys are going to vote. But best actress in a remake, reboot, or revival. Best actress in a remake, reboot, or revival.
Mhm.
Nicole,
Right.
kick it off.
You want me to go first? Okay,
I'll let you
cool.
go first.
This is tough because, I want to give
That's
it to
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Women shine this year.
women, as always.
Mm-mm.
Immediately I have the proclivity to give it to like all the women in the musicals, right? Like I'm thinking of Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, who we kicked off this year with that, but at least we not forget her fantastic performance and a supporting role in that film. She got nominated for the Oscar. Girls and Mean Girls, especially Renee Rapp, they did a great job. So did Alia Carvalho, if that's her name. I can't recall her name right now. She did a great job. And Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande and Wicked, just all the feels, all the emotions. Fantastic. They are also going to get nominated for so many awards. But I'm going to have to give Best Actress to Lady Gaga for carrying Joker Folie à Deux.
Okay.
For being the only reason that I would say that movie was somewhat good. Maybe Joaquin Phoenix if I'm feeling generous, but it really was her. And I hope she, the movie has gotten way too much backlash, even though I didn't particularly enjoy it. People were really hard on it, but I hope more than anybody, she comes out of it unscathed because she did a great job.
Yeah,
So.
no, I think she definitely shined. She was actually one of my picks for potential being best actress in a remake, reboot, or revival. Eddie, do you have a best actress?
I do. Let me I want to make sure I get the name right.
Oh, I think you're saying who I
know. I think I could guess yours, Rolando.
Go ahead.
Is it the girl from Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, that's me.
That's you?
That is what I'm going to
Maya Erskine.
Yes, Maya Erskine. Okay, so me and Eddie are on the same boat on this one. Yes, we're both picking Maya Erskine in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I think she was such a standout in that show. Truly surprised. Again, I think I said this in the episode. I know her for comedy, and she gave me a romance that I just was not expecting because
I was not.
The sexual chemistry she had with Donald Glover was, I think, palpable, and that is shocking because when I saw the initial presser of who they cast, I was just like, that's an interesting choice to follow up Angelina Jolie, right? Yeah. Like that is okay, sure. We don't judge people on their looks, right? But again, I judge her. I was judging it because it's like is this gonna be like a slapstick comedy? It's gonna be weird.
Yeah. Just because we know her in that comical sense,
and it was just wonderful. She was just so good. She didn't carry that show, right? Because Donald Glover was just as good as was all their supporting cast. So, oh yeah, she got nominated for Golden Globes, and I was so happy because I think she absolutely deserves it. She was one of my favorite things to come out this year in both television and film. And I am so excited to see what else she comes with, right? Because I know Mr. and Mrs. Smith got picked up for a second season, but I think they're going to go the anthology routes because I think Maya Erskine and Donald Glover have said they're not going to be attached to the project.
Wow.
Which I'm excited to see. Like, it's just like, okay, cool. If they could keep this up, maybe they'll bring back Phoebe Waller-Smith to take over the show because she was initially the original who was supposed to write season 1, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Eddie, why did you pick her?
Oh, no. I just felt like the chemistry she had with Donald Glover, making this a very interesting story about espionage and also about being in a relationship with someone that you have to pretend to be married to and being in this relationship. And then, but catching feelings for that person at the same time too. And then all the complicated new relationship with being we also have to make sure that we don't fuck up our missions because then they'll kill us and get rid of us. So all those she was able to portray so well. Just so well. Like I really saw the depth of the character that she was portraying. Like she really gave you all the emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think
I was impressed.
yeah, truly, I was. What a surprise, and I think I hope she gets nominated for an Emmy because I think she deserves it for sure.
Nice.
And she doesn't have to go up against the Bear because Bear always ends up on the category of comedies. So like she has a good shot,
which is so ridiculous.
Well, yeah, especially this season. It was totally.
It was so funny.
This season was funnier than season 2, though. I will say, whatever.
So now this leads us to the worst performance in remakes, reboots, or revivals. We don't discriminate between men and women. It's just whoever.
Yeah.
Worst, like they were trying for something and they failed, unfortunately. We won't harp too much on it because, we're positive people, not negative. Joke. But worst performance. Should I start? Do you guys have one that you want to go
I have
for?
one. I'll go.
You'll go? Okay.
Yeah. So my worst performance in a remake, reboot, or revival goes to Adam Copeland, also known as The Edge, from... Do you guys even have any idea who I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, wait. Shit. You know what?
No,
I'm giving
go
him
with
the
it.
runner.
Keep going.
No, I'm giving him runner-up because I just realized who is my worst. It is... So he's going to get my runner-up. But he played Ares in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Okay. He was atrocious, right? So he's a professional wrestler. That's what he does professionally. And there's a reason why he should just stick to the ring. But you know else who should stick to the ring?
That's my pick.
What is his... I already forgot
his name. Is Colin McGregor. Connor McGregor. Connor McGregor.
You know what? Yeah. His name doesn't deserve the respect to even be pronounced properly because he was so bad. He was so bad in Roadhouse. He was kind of like a walking hate crime, to be quite honest. Like, how he didn't get sued for defamation by the Irish League is beyond me.
It's true. I completely agree. I don't know what his team was thinking, or if he's one of those people that can't hear like feedback or criticism, so they just let him go out there and make a fool out of himself. But he did terrible, and he unfortunately was up against Jake Gyllenhaal, who is a good actor, and he gave a good performance, so he looked even worse in comparison to someone who's doing it very well. Mm-hmm. And we won't be seeing him in another film. Let's just say that.
Oh, you think? Hopefully we don't have to, but
we'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting cast for like something like...
That's true, actually, yeah.
Like Triple X remake.
So, yeah, he's so bad in it that he's going to have his own franchise soon. That is how Hollywood works.
Yeah. So The Edge gets runner-up, but most certainly 100% is Conor McGregor. And I had to like fake talking to clients because some clients actually liked him in Roadhouse. And I was just like, oh my God, we are sure he was lovely, I guess. But no, I hate him so much. Hated him. He was the worst thing. Worst thing. Eddie, who are you picking?
Oh my God. I'm trying to think who made me feel that way.
I mean, it might be the same one. It might be you and I hated Conor McGregor.
I did, but I feel like you guys already said it.
Mm-mm. Was it someone from Salem's Lot? Just the whole movie.
What's the whole movie?
The whole cast. Hey, it's not their fault that movie sucks.
Movie.
They didn't help. Like they didn't. Like they were not helping the situation.
Okay.
All right, who are you picking?
Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I get the name.
The anticipation.
Okay. Now, I wonder, maybe because she wasn't written right, but is it Taylor Page from Beverly Hills Cop? Axel
The
F?
daughter?
The daughter.
Yes.
I just did not care for that performance at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether it was they just wrote the daughter to be this particular way, but like I said, she seems so dry compared to Eddie Murphy's performance.
She did.
There wasn't. I feel like there was not. Because who I was going for, which actress I really wanted for this role. Palmer, because I feel there's no one that could be like give it back and forth Eddie Murphy, like Keke Palmer's portrayal in her other previous performances. But yeah, I just felt like I wasn't too impressed at all by that particular performance. So.
Yeah. And, I'm glad somebody picked it. It might have gone the whole show without being picked, but it was fine as a movie. We're not trying to like trash it.
Yeah.
But overall, like when you're expecting a certain level of it and, it just doesn't meet that in this case, then that's, I guess, what we're going to go for worst.
And the problem was, I mean, not her fault, but like she was so poorly written, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really what it was. It's just
I feel like that was it.
Yeah.
Like, you had the potential here to actually make a compelling story, right? Because like otherwise the elements kind of work. Her character, not necessarily the performance again, but like the character was so weak that it kind of just like fizzled as a result, which is a shame.
No, absolutely. It did. So, well, we're on to the last couple of categories. We did an in memoriam of all the properties that we didn't get to cover when we did the mid-year. Should we remind people of some of the ones that, we will mourn the fact that we never got to cover them?
Yeah, there's a few.
There are a few.
First and foremost, I'm going to start off by saying we didn't cover Zorro, and I am livid about that. This was a Spanish production that got distributed by Amazon Prime, and it is wonderful. I liked it so much. It had good action sequences, and it had like a retelling of the Zorro character that, was a little bit more modern. It involved the typical Zorro storyline of like fighting for the disenfranchised and stuff, but it had like a slight mysticism to it because in this version, the Zorro legend is attached to the local indigenous people's lore. And this is why Eddie doesn't like it though. It is a white man who takes on the mantle of Zorro. And Eddie does not necessarily like that. But, Zorro has always been a Spanish man, you know what I mean? Like he is from a Spanish descendant in California. Yeah. So this is just, the lore. But I like this so much. And I do, Zorro is one of my favorite properties and stuff. And I had pitched Eddie like how you could do like a modern Zorro retelling in this day and age. Do you want to hear it, Nicole?
Sure.
So my Zorro retelling would take place in the near future, a little bit of a fascist America. I guess not that near, or a lot nearer than we were expecting. But it was going to be like a fascist version of America where, what's it called? Undocumented people were just being locked up and thrown in concentration camps. And they were being used as miners to dig out tungsten found in like Texas or California. And our main protagonist, who would have been Diego, he is a descendant. He is a son of an immigrant family and stuff. And he is like, because his parents had to make sure he had the property because he is the only American in the family and stuff. And, he takes on the mantle of Zorro to kind of help free his people and start bringing down this tyranny that's, ruling the area and stuff. And it would be a local story and stuff. That would be my modern version retelling of Zorro and stuff. So Hollywood, if you're listening, I'm right here.
Pay him. Well, let's just quickly go through some of these other properties, though, because there was a lot. Zorro's just one of them, which I didn't even know about, by the way.
Okay.
Like The Last Shogun, which won a ton of Emmys we didn't get to do.
Yeah. Did that come out this year or last year?
Kind of. It was earlier this year for sure that we were considering doing it. But, now we're every 2 weeks,
Yeah, it makes it more difficult.
Limited. There was The First Omen.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That came out. We didn't get to do that. The Fall Guy was somewhat of a revival or a reboot of that television show with Lee Majors, I believe. Mm-hmm. There was a new Tiny Toons that we didn't get to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a new Fairly Odd Parents.
Buster and Babs are brother and sister in the new Tiny Toons, and that's weird.
That's weird.
That's so weird.
There was The Strangers Chapter 1. So that was sort of a prequel, but still a revival of a property.
I think they were rebooting the franchise.
There you go.
Yeah.
They did Good Times. What?
We didn't see it, but like it got so much hate because it looked so racist.
Yeah, well. There's Matlock, which, who knows in the future we might do, but there's
It's good. It's good. I'm watching it.
I know. People are really liking it, and Kathy Bates,
Everyone loves
We-
Kathy Bates. What's there to
Everybody
not
loves
like?
her. There's One Day, the Netflix
Which we
show.
started. I didn't finish it. I'm not into romance. It's too.
Yeah.
Eh.
There was the other Jake Gyllenhaal television show, Presumed Innocent, which we almost did, but we kicked off in favor of something else. There was the Amazon Cruel Intentions, which I remember telling you guys about, and we were just like, pass.
You know what?
It just
Did we say
started.
pass? It just started. Like there's
Oh.
a potential for next year, but I
Well,
didn't
we'll
say
see.
pass. I didn't pass necessarily on it because I do love me. Any chance to talk about Sarah Michelle Gellar, I will take it.
This is true. And 90s teen movies.
90s teen, not just that, but like Cruel Intentions walked. So Gossip Girl and like Euphoria
yeah.
could run. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So,
And, you know, speaking of Zorro, by the way, there's a bunch of French adaptations of classic literature that we haven't done. Like The Three Musketeers came out last year. This year, The Count of Monte Cristo. Like, they're making their... Yeah, they're making these new grand literary adaptations that are not on, you know, our radar. So there's just so much that we're missing. But the big one that people have asked about and that we were going to do, but there's a couple reasons that we didn't do, is Gladiator 2.
Nicole.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could give you the opportunity to talk about Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal and just watching all of those men, you know, fight
just
each
be
other.
Sweaty and just
sweaty and stuff.
Covered in dirt.
Yeah. Sorry. That's what happens when you start a podcast with a lesbian. What can I say?
Mm-hmm.
But we will get into the reasons more specifically another time. So RIP to those properties that we never got to do. Which leads us to our last big 3 awards. And because there's only 6 properties, we're going to do Best in Television first. So out of the 6 properties that we covered this year, guys, what are we going to say is the best in television? Now, I have some ideas here. So I'll just go ahead and start because I feel like you guys are a little bit more passionate about some of these properties than I am. So as the least excited about the television nominations, let me just say that out of all of these, to me, the clear winner is X-Men 97.
Interesting. Okay.
We've already said enough about it. And if you want to hear more, you should go back and listen to that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it's darn good. And you're in and out in like a half hour and you're being told a pretty good story. And this is when I like superhero content at its best.
Mm-hmm.
I think these graphic novels adapt themselves to this format very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And to pick up right from when they left off and literally just like make it feel authentic, like, oh, wow, no time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job.
They do. So X-Men 97 was going to be my choice, but I suspected another person was going to pick it. So because of that, I actually ended up choosing Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I knew it
as my favorite show. And it was, I think this is just such a wonderful show. We spoke about Maya Erskine performance, but that is not to say that everyone else is lacking. Everyone else is just on top of their game. I think the show is beautifully shot. I think I love the missions they go on and seeing their failures because they fail. And I love seeing just their relationship blossom also. It was just such a wonderful show. Just great performances. Absolutely. The show is so, it's like, I guess sensual, right? Like it's like, it's not necessarily the sexiest show, and yet they're so sexy.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, good. Well put. Mm-hmm. Eddie, what about you?
Well, I was going to say X-Men 97.
I suspected.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm looking at all of what's there, I think that's the one that takes the cake for me.
Like, I mean, X-Men 97 was just, it was great. It was a phenomenal TV revival for sure. So, it deserves its accolades and stuff.
Nice. Okay. Well, then that will bring us to the much harder one to decipher, and the one that I'm very excited to hear what everybody picks. And hopefully we all have a different pick. But Best in Film of 2024 for Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. Rolando, I want you to kick this off.
All right. So I'm going to pick my favorite film of 2024 is actually going to go to Mean Girls. I know what's it called? I think Mean Girls was so wonderful. I love the performances, and I know the reason I didn't want to pick Wicked is because of the recency bias. Because
yeah.
even though Wicked has sat with me since we last saw it, you know what movie has also sat with me since I last saw it? Mean Girls. I think some of the musical numbers on Mean Girls have sat with me, and I think about them. And sometimes I will go on YouTube and just like look up a scene and stuff, right? So I think I'm gonna go and just Renee Rapp. What a standout she was in that film. So and just it was just funny. It was just such a funny film and stuff. So I know you're right, Nicole. A lot of, especially in our age group, and people do not want to see the new Mean Girls, and it's just like you are missing out. This one is good, and it respects the original one while making it fresh.
Yeah, it was a surprise, and it was a delight. So good pick, Eddie. What about you?
So similar. I'm not gonna pick Wicked. I'm gonna pick all of us. I'm gonna pick All of Us Strangers.
You son of a bitch.
Okay,
because that's the one that has. I thought you were gonna choose Wicked. That's why. That is the one that has sat with me through this year, and a movie that I definitely want to revisit after Christmas, maybe. So, but as a movie I do want to see again and sit with.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Looking down the list, the film that is the best in terms of creativity, in terms of direction, in terms of performances, in terms of the control of the artistry and the message and the tone. I mean, all across the board, for me, it's All of Us Strangers. It's so devastating. And if you really compare how much he changed it and he made it his own, and he made it something so personal and so cathartic and also so queer, which it's just such a good freaking movie. And yeah, it destroyed me. And
same.
I got to release some
just crying.
real trauma and pain from, losing people at a young age. And it's just one of the most beautiful ghost stories I've seen done in such a unique way. So that was going to be my pick too. I guess I should be the one to pick Wicked because the only other one that would be Wicked, because Wicked was dope. I've waited 20 years for Wicked and it didn't disappoint. I had a great freaking time watching Wicked.
Same.
And I can't wait to watch it again. And
are you doing the sing-along?
We might do it when we go visit family in Oklahoma. So... But, we do have the Audience Award, our last award annually. We ask you guys, out of all of the properties, what is your pick for the best in remakes, reboots, and revivals? And actually, we have a clear winner. I don't know if you checked, Rolando.
I hadn't checked.
All right, so let me just triple check really quick to see if we had any
updates.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Audience Award of 2024 goes to Wicked.
Yeah, kind of.
The runner-up.
Recency bias.
The runner-up was X-Men 97, by the way.
Oh, yay! Oh, actually, yeah. So two of our three picks for best in television and best in film.
Can you say that one more time?
Sorry.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah, Wicked, which... I think it's going to do big in the award season, and I think it's just going to it's on its way to becoming one of the top 3 highest grossing movies of the year. I can't wait for part 2. I'm just glad that musicals are back in such a big way because we all picked freaking musicals.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true, except for All of Us Strangers. They were all, and we had a lot of musicals that we covered this year, period.
We did, yeah.
Which was interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's exciting for you. Maybe less so for the non-musical lovers. But I do enjoy a good musical, and we had some really good.
Yes, you do. Your favorite was Mean Girls. You loved Joker Folia de the most out of all of us.
I did.
You love musicals. Yeah. Admit it.
I like musicals. I just did not. I like them. I don't gravitate towards them. How's that? Right, where I have to be really forced to like watch them and stuff. And
he loved West Side Story.
I did. Oh, West Side Story was one of my favorites of the year. That year,
it was a great movie. Yeah, it was very good. Well, guys, that's it for 2024. Be sure to follow us and be on the lookout for an announcement, because as we close the year in remakes, reboots, revivals, we are also ending a chapter for this podcast, and we're going to be beginning a new one. And
one of us
we
is
will
going to
tell you
mysteriously
more.
disappear.
I know. And which one will it be?
Right.
We'll have our own ghost story happening soon. All of us strangers. Yeah. But in the meantime, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, however you celebrate.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
Happy New
guys.
Year's. Nicole, hopefully you have every wish come true.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
You too. You have wishes come true.
No.
I deserve it.
And I hope all your wishes come true, both Eddie and Rolando.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I'm sorry. I already said in the meantime. Until next time.
Stay
Stay
unoriginal.
unoriginal.